All right, time to tackle the big question. There's a lot of contention around this particular character. I don't mean to be critical of any particular writers, but there is a certain intellectual laziness that surrounds a lot of Momoshiki scaling. It seems that a lot of people have come under the impression that since Momoshiki seemed a lot less cool and impressive than Kaguya and Madara, he must be weaker than both of them. I will be scaling Momoshiki with the appropriate rigor and from all different angles. I know that Momoshiki's detractors don't like using statements, so I will be avoiding them as much as I can. Let's scale his strength to Madara. First and foremost, we must establish some baselines and minimums to begin our discussion. To do this, we will be doing some lowball scaling on the Naruto and Sasuke that fought Momoshiki. Instead of just saying, they were weakened and leaving it at that, as so many people do, we will actually be quantifying it as best as possible. In this particular fight, we know that Naruto had half of his chakra torn out, and Sasuke had to transport a bunch of people with his Rinnegan. This line is not in the manga, but as there is no contradictory information in the manga, it is acceptable as canon. From this fact, we can deduce that Naruto is at least half power, since he recovered somewhat by the time Momoshiki fused and was once again able to access his Biju mode. Sasuke, on the other hand, is anywhere between half to two-thirds power, since he still had chakra to transport everyone home after the fight. Furthermore, Naruto and Sasuke are somewhat equal to each other in strength. Being at half chakra does not necessarily mean half power. We are assuming this for simplicity's sake. The fact that they are equal in Boruto is further supported by the fact that neither appear to be carrying the team in the Momoshiki fight and are able to react to each other without issue. As such, this means that Naruto and Sasuke as a team here are at least the strength of a full power Naruto, since both are at around half power and are relative to each other. This is completely discounting the fact that they are stronger as a team and are greater than the sum of their parts, but we are lowballing for the purpose of this section. Now here we see that Momoshiki is at the very least comparable to Naruto and Sasuke. As we have discussed, this means he is at bare minimum comparable to a full power Naruto. Now this begs the question, how strong is full power Naruto and how does he compare to Shippuden characters? Since the war, Naruto gained another half of Kurama and has trained for over 15 years, but no longer has access to the Young Seal. The Young Seal gave him access to the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei in conjunction with Sasuke's Yin Seal. But it is not relevant here since it doesn't directly amplify his strength. Therefore, even if you say that Naruto's training was completely worthless and he gained nothing from it, he is still significantly stronger than himself in the war arc because of Kurama. Later I will explain the magnitude of his training, but we are ignoring it for the purpose of this section. Now, this finally brings us to Madara. Madara's great power comes from having access to the raw strength of Naruto and the incredible versatility of Sasuke in tandem. As such, he would have been able to beat either of them in a 1v1 in the war. However, just in terms of raw strength, he is comparable to Naruto. Here we see Naruto's shadow clones are able to keep up with and swap hands evenly with all of Madara's limbo clones. Naruto's real body is not participating in this fight, rather destroying all of the meteors that Madara was summoning. Being only able to use taijutsu, the limbo clones are only able to use their raw strength, which is matched by Naruto's shadow clones. Madara is comparable in raw strength to teenage Naruto. Momoshiki is at least comparable to a full-power adult Naruto, therefore Momoshiki is clearly far superior to Madara. In a hypothetical fight between Momoshiki and Madara, Madara would not be able to use his ninjutsu versatility as Momoshiki has the most powerful absorption abilities in the series. Madara would be forced to fight with taijutsu, for which he is unfortunately inferior to Momoshiki. There is even more evidence in this regard. Sasuke's sword could fully impale Madara, but could not even scratch unfused Momoshiki after he brings it down straight on his neck. To be fair, Madara had not yet acquired his second Rinnegan, but it should not significantly affect his durability. This is the baseline. Momoshiki is stronger than Madara. No amount of reasonable lowballing can take Momoshiki lower than this. This is where we start our conversation. Now, let's scale adult Naruto and Sasuke. Now that we have established a baseline, we can let go of this atrocious downplay and start seriously scaling adult Naruto and Sasuke. As I've mentioned before, Naruto has an extra half of Kurama and 15 years of training but does not have the Yang Seal. Similarly, Sasuke has much greater mastery of his Rinnegan and 15 years of training but lacks the Yin Seal. Before the Momoshiki fight, we get a glimpse of the fruits of Naruto's training in the last Naruto the movie. In it, Naruto fights Toneri, who is so powerful with the Tenseigan that he could destroy the planet by hurling the moon toward it. I see many people claim this feat is not planetary because he had to use the moon to do so. I will be quickly demonstrating that it is in fact planetary here while keeping the physics light. In order to destroy a planet the size and mass of Earth, Toneri needs to hit it with at least 2.49 x 10 to the power 32 joules of energy, or the gravitational binding energy of Earth. Toneri is supplying 99.99% of the energy to destroy the planet. Since the threshold for planetary is about 2 orders of magnitude lower, Toneri is definitively planetary at least. Now that we have established Toneri's scale, I will explain why this is significant when scaling Naruto. Naruto did not even need to use his 6-path Sage mode to defeat Toneri. In fact, with only KCM2 Sage mode, Naruto defeats Toneri with relative ease. This means that Naruto is beyond planetary in his KCM2 Sage mode, which is astronomically higher than what he was capable of in the war. Most readers and viewers of the series agree that Naruto characters did not reach planetary levels until the 6 Paths characters at the earliest. In the war, KCM2 Sage Naruto was noticeably weaker than even Jubi Obito, by far the weakest out of all the 6 Paths characters. Naruto at present is clearly orders of magnitude stronger than he was in the war, likely hundreds to thousands of times. This is completely consistent with the narrative. Naruto got many thousands of times stronger over the course of 4 to 5 years in the original series. It should be of no surprise that he is hundreds of times stronger after a decade. Well, you might say Naruto has not been able to train rigorously since he became the village leader, so he must have gotten weaker. This would be a good point, except for the fact that he still scales to Sasuke, which brings me to my next portion. Now for Sasuke, he has much fewer notable feats to go over. He pretty much has not gone all out since his fight with Naruto in the final valley. However, he does demonstrate a significant increase in power comparable to Naruto, as well as much greater mastery over his Rinnegan. Here we see that Sasuke's Rinnegan powers were immature in the war. Since the Rinnegan is the core of Sasuke's fighting style, this alone would make Sasuke a much more proficient fighter in Boruto. At this point in the story, he is by far the most experienced Rinnegan user in history outside of Hagoromo. His experience with the Rinnegan should surpass Madara's, as Madara died very soon after awakening his. Beyond this, we see Sasuke is now able to travel between dimensions in a similar manner to Kaguya and Momoshiki. This is a big deal, since dimensional jumps are supposed to require an enormous amount of chakra and raw power. Even Kaguya, with her nearly endless reserves, was getting tired after a few jumps. Sasuke can't perform as many jumps as Kaguya. But it's not as significant since Sasuke has never been a brute force fighter. Unlike Kaguya and Naruto, Sasuke's power comes much less from raw chakra. So him being this level of raw chakra is a big deal. Again, all of these increases are internally consistent, as we know that Naruto and Sasuke are equals at this point. All of the available evidence point to a Naruto and Sasuke hundreds of times greater than their war arc selves, if not more. This should put into perspective why both of them being at half power against Momoshiki isn't that big of a deal. Furthermore, as I mentioned earlier, it should also be noted that Naruto and Sasuke are far more powerful as a team than the sum of their parts. Evidence of this can be seen throughout the series. One example would be when they were fighting Jubi Obito and were getting blatantly overpowered. However, when they merged their avatars, they could actually hold their ground. This means that Momoshiki is actually much stronger than either of them at full power, since the half-power Naruto and Sasuke team is greater than either of them at full power. Now, let's scale him to Kaguya. I want to preface this section by saying this is by far the least concrete of all the sections. There is relatively little evidence to directly compare Kaguya and Momoshiki if you choose to ignore statements. As such, this section will probably be the longest and with plenty of detail. First, I must dispel a surprisingly common misconception. It seems to be the opinion of many that Kaguya was weaker than Momoshiki when she landed on Earth, but surpassed him after eating the chakra fruit. This, of course, ignores the fact that Momoshiki has eaten many more chakra fruits since then. It is then hypothesized that the Earth's chakra fruit is of significantly higher quality than other fruits. However, there is nothing in the series that suggests this. In fact, the opposite is implied, as a fully matured Shinju tree should drain all the life force out of a planet, but Earth never reached that point prior to Kaguya eating the fruit. I'm not saying this definitively makes Momoshiki stronger because he ate more fruits, but this narrative element is a very poor argument to use in Kaguya's favor. Another point that I must quickly address is that of Kaguya's immortality. Now, this has got to be one of my least favorite talking points on this topic. The series has always been rife with hyperbolic statements like this, and scaling with them is idiotic. It's just like Madara's "smash all things in the universe" statement. Does Kaguya slap the one above all because he doesn't have ceiling? With this kind of reasoning, I'm immortal too. After all, I've been going around telling people I'm immortal, and I've never died in my life. Even if we take this statement at face value, immortality is not even a big deal in the Narutoverse. Hidan is immortal and Shikamaru has no ceiling, yet Hidan still lost. Before we continue, it is imperative to bear in mind that the Naruto and Sasuke that Kaguya fought weren't at full power either. It's not like Naruto and Sasuke woke up in the morning, ate a hearty breakfast, and went off to fight Kaguya. By the time of the Kaguya fight, Naruto and Sasuke had just got done fighting an entire war non-stop. Even if you say they had their stamina refilled by Hagoromo, they still had to fight Madara before they fought Kaguya, quite a tough opponent to say the least. Now we must analyze the times in which both Kaguya and Momoshiki were vulnerable or overpowered in their respective fights. From this, we can determine if either scale to each other's weak points. I will start with the times Kaguya was at a disadvantage. One instance would obviously be her defeat in ceiling. This was accomplished with Kakashi's Kamui taking her off guard, Sakura's punch, Naruto's Yang Seal, and Sasuke's Yin Seal. None of these things Momoshiki has access to. He does not demonstrate any sealing ability in the series. While he obviously is far stronger than Sakura and has the speed to avoid her ash bones, Momoshiki cannot defeat Kaguya in this manner. Going backward next would be Naruto cutting off Kaguya's arm. Momoshiki would definitely be able to replicate something similar, as this Naruto doesn't scale to Momoshiki. However, Kaguya has demonstrated the ability to use dismembered limbs without issue, and all this would do is sever the connection between her and Black Zetsu. It is also possible that Naruto was using boil release here, which I will touch on in a moment. Next, we have the instance where Naruto used boil release, unrivaled strength, and was able to overpower Kaguya for a brief moment. Even if Kaguya was taken off guard by the attack, it should still mean that boil release Naruto is comparable in strength to Kaguya. How much the unrivaled strength actually amps Naruto is not entirely clear. This is the only other time the technique is used as far as I'm aware. Unfortunately for this scaling, we do not know how strong Han was, as how he was captured by the Akatsuki was not specified. He did, however, gain substantial notoriety in the Third Shinobi World War, which should put him to at least Jonin to low Kage level. Therefore, the boil release took him from low Kage level to beyond KCM1 Naruto level. KCM1 Naruto was able to fight dozens of Kage and Kage level opponents. Therefore, a high-end estimation for unrivaled strength would be a 100-200x multiplier, which is similar to most multiplier estimations for the later gates. Now, what does this tell us? Naruto could only maintain the boil release for a very brief moment. While it is very possible that boil release teenage Naruto is stronger than adult Naruto, the complete lack of longevity would still make adult Naruto superior. Therefore, Momoshiki would scale to the unrivaled strength and could very well defeat Kaguya just by maintaining superior attrition. Imagine Guy versus Madara, but Guy gets infinite 8th gate. The final moment of weakness would be when Kaguya was overcome by the reverse harem jutsu. While fused Momoshiki is quite handsome, I doubt it's something that would affect Kaguya. The only reason Naruto could pull this off was because of the element of surprise. So no, Momoshiki cannot take this path to victory. Now we will move on to all the moments where Momoshiki was put at a disadvantage. Given that it is a shorter fight than the Kaguya fight, there will be less to go over. Here, we see Naruto catch Momoshiki by surprise by activating Biju mode and lands a good hit on him. Sasuke then follows up with a decent kick. This, however, doesn't even slow Momoshiki down and he lands on his feet, preparing his next attack. Next, Naruto and Sasuke combine Sasuke's perfect Susanoo and Naruto's Kurama avatar and destroy the Otsutsuki Golem. However, it is strongly implied that Momoshiki is just pretending here. We see that the Susanoo sword did not actually hit Momoshiki's main body. Momoshiki leaps up perfectly fine to absorb the jutsu shot at him literally moments later. Naruto even comments how this attack didn't come close to winning the fight against him. This should dispel any misconceptions about how Momoshiki would have lost here if he had not absorbed the ninja tool chakra. Naruto obviously did not know that Katasuke would intervene. All the other Kage were wondering if Momoshiki had been defeated. But Naruto insists that he has not, clearly implying that he either senses much more power within Momoshiki or that Momoshiki was just pretending. Finally, we have the defeat of Momoshiki. This is by far the most significant of all the instances we have discussed. As previous instances, he did not sustain significant damage, therefore must discuss how strong Boruto's Rasengan here actually is. The implication here is that Naruto gave all of his remaining chakra to Boruto. This is supported by the fact that Naruto just kneels on the ground for the remainder of the fight. Sasuke also refers to this attack as their one chance, implying that it is the only thing that can take out Momoshiki and that Naruto can't make more. In this sense, this Rasengan would be Naruto's gambit move, similar to how the expansive truth-seeking orb was Kaguya's gambit move. It is most likely superior to this, however, as Kaguya drew on the chakra of everyone on Earth to produce it. By the way, it must be noted that a person producing an attack is always inferior to giving chakra to another person and that person producing an attack. This is a ubiquitous idea in the series, such as how Biju are significantly inferior to a Jinchuriki taking their chakra and using it. Therefore, Boruto's Rasengan here is superior to if Naruto just used that chakra to produce a Rasengan of his own. This means that Kaguya would likely be able to take down Momoshiki if she is able to produce the expansive truth-seeking orb, as it is likely superior to Boruto's Rasengan. However, Kaguya was only able to produce the expansive truth-seeking orb because Madara had cast the infinite Tsukiyomi earlier. Without Madara, she would be unable to produce an attack of the same caliber. Now onto the speed scaling from this. Is Momoshiki Genin level speed because Boruto could hit him? No. In case it was not apparent, Momoshiki's main flaw is his overwhelming hubris. When fighting Sasuke and Boruto, he literally just confidently stood in one place instead of drawing distance to properly use his attack. He was casually slapping away Boruto's clones and chose not to take him seriously at all, which led to his downfall. Therefore, Boruto being able to hit Momoshiki when he was standing still is not a speed anti-feat for Momoshiki, only a sensory anti-feat. So where does that leave us? I have to reiterate that there are relatively few pieces of evidence for this matchup. However, the preponderance of evidence pretty clearly favors Momoshiki. Kaguya's deadliest techniques, like the ash bones, could be avoided by characters far inferior to Momoshiki. Kaguya's base physical capabilities seem to hit their limits against boil-released teenage Naruto, which Momoshiki scales to. I'm not saying Kaguya can't win. If we set this battle in a situation where Kaguya can produce the expansive truth-seeking orb and Momoshiki just stands there flexing instead of leaving to another dimension, it's not likely he would be able to just tank it. That's the thing though, Kaguya can't just brawl with Momoshiki continuously. She has to go for a gambit like Naruto and Sasuke did. Since she most likely doesn't have access to the expansive truth-seeking orb, there's not much of a worthwhile gambit that she can pull off. Now let's address common points. Here I will be addressing some common points brought up pertaining to the Momoshiki fight and Boruto-era Naruto and Sasuke in general. Momoshiki was scared of some fodder Kage. This idea of Momoshiki being weak because he scales to the Kage is wrong on multiple levels. Momoshiki dispatches of all the other Kage except Naruto in a similar manner. For one, I constantly see people try to scale the Kage to their war arc selves, which is a fallacy. It pretends like all the Kage just sat around, picked their noses for 15 years, which just simply isn't what happened at all. Pretty much all characters get significantly more powerful going into adulthood unless there are extenuating circumstances, which there aren't any, even if we run on the idea that Kage and Boruto are the same level as war arc. It's not even relevant to this discussion. The best feat the Kage have against Momoshiki is Gaara puts up a sand shield. Momoshiki punches it and then blitzes around it and one-shots Gaara. Momoshiki sees the sand shield go up and then decides to go around it. Hardly an anti-feat. Momoshiki dispatches of all the other Kage except Naruto in a similar manner. Not a single one of the Kage could tag him once the entire fight, not to mention actually damage him, and he goes around and one-shot all of them before Naruto and Sasuke could react. This is important because Naruto as a series has always been one where significantly weaker character can occasionally tag stronger characters. Sakura and Kakashi could tag Kaguya, Tobirama could tag Gyubi Obito, and Temari could tag Madara. The fact that all these high Kage-level fighters could not even touch him once is pretty telling of the fact that Momoshiki is not even close to that level. Naruto has access to six-path Sage Mode, but not six-path Senjutsu. This idea is really weird, and seems to stem from the fact that Madara looked at Naruto from behind and remarked that Naruto now has six-path Senjutsu, and Naruto now has a different cloak design from the one Madara looked at. It also seems to stem from Naruto no longer using truth-seeking orbs as an adult. No offense to anyone in particular, but this entire theory reeks of headcanon. It's two very flimsy pieces of evidence contradicted by a mountain of much more substantiated evidence. First of all, the 9 markings on his back don't represent the Sage of 6 Paths, as obviously there are 9, not 6 of them. The 9 markings actually represent the 9 Biju that are vested within Naruto. This is consistent, as we see that Obito, Madara, and Hagoromo have these markings, while Sasuke and Kaguya do not because they aren't Jinchuriki. The only thing that can be argued from his adult cloak design is that he no longer has access to all the Biju chakra, but we do see that he retains all the Kekkei Genkai from the Biju, so it's not even a big deal. The etymology is also not consistent for this view. Rikudo Senjutsu translates basically to 6 paths, sage techniques or 6 paths sage abilities. Rikudo Senin Modo translates to 6 paths sage mode. He has the form, but not any of the abilities that come with the form. This is not even consistent with what we know about normal sage mode. You unlock sage mode by having Senjutsu chakra within your body. You can't be in Sage Mode without having Senjutsu, just like you can't be in 6-path Sage Mode without having 6-path Senjutsu. Now, I must address the truth-seeking orbs. Many people have come under the impression that the TSOs are some overpowered end-of-series technique when they really aren't. We see pretty consistently that the more powerful a character is, the less they rely on TSOs. Obito used them extensively in his fight, while Madara used them much less. And Kaguya didn't even bother manifesting any for most of the fight. There is actually good reason for this. The truth-seeking orbs are not useful at all against 6 paths characters, as they can't damage them and cannot nullify ninjutsu produced by them. Naruto is able to kick them away casually after just entering base 6 paths. Madara is able to just cut them to pieces with his light fang. Sasuke is able to shoot them down with basic Susanoo arrows. When fighting characters like Kaguya, Madara, and Momoshiki, the TSOs are about as useful as a bunch of baseballs behind your back. We literally see this in the series, where the only thing Naruto's TSOs were good for was making a little platform for Sasuke to stand on. The evidence is pretty clear that Naruto doesn't use the TSOs not because he can't, but because he doesn't want to. Kishimoto communicated this when he had Madara use TSOs on Naruto, and it accomplished nothing, while Naruto's Magma Rasen Shuriken almost killed Madara. On that note, Naruto retains all the useful abilities that he gained in 6-path Sage Mode. He retains the Magma Rasen Shuriken and the ability to fly. It should be apparent at this point that Naruto retains access to all the best abilities that he got from 6-path Sage Mode, and no longer uses the less useful abilities due to more experience. I will admit that it's possible he no longer has access to Boil Release, so if you think he doesn't, that's fine, but it's not that relevant to this discussion. Next is the ubiquitous Naruto getting stabbed by Sasuke's sword scene. The downplay from this scene comes from the assumption that this was just some normal sword Sasuke picked up somewhere. Sasuke's sword is one of the swords of Kusanagi, which include Orochimaru's Kusanagi blade and Itachi's Totsuka blade. It's not just some kitchen knife Sasuke found on the ground somewhere. This is the same sword that impaled Madara in the exact same manner, yet I don't see anyone calling Madara fodder because of it. Besides, it's not like Naruto was seriously damaged by the sword. He winced for a second and was fine literally a moment later. It's likely that Naruto hadn't been hurt for years at this point and just had to get used to it. Next, we have Naruto running away from a small explosion. Like the sword anti-feat, we have to assume something that just isn't true, and that's that this is just some normal explosion. This explosion actually had the express purpose of counteracting people with regenerative abilities like Naruto. Even then, calling this explosion building level is just a mark of extremely immature scaling. Experienced scalers know that destructive capacity calculations determine minimums, not maximums. For example, Tobirama's tandem paper bombs created a relatively small explosion, but they are clearly Continental Plus, because they were able to destroy one of Hashirama's deity gates. Lowballing attack potency from explosion size is incorrect and should not be done. Conclusion. As I have outlined, Momoshiki scales to some of the strongest characters in the franchise. He has extremely potent absorption abilities, being able to reflect attacks with orders of magnitude more power, as well as proficient taijutsu skills. His weakness, however, is that he is extremely arrogant and tends to underestimate his opponents.